started. Welcome, everyone. It's Monday, May 8th, 2023. It's 4 p.m. We're at the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting, and we're in the Carson City Community Center in the Bob Kroll Boardroom. If I could get a roll call, Linda?
Yes, Mike Jones,
Here.
Bobby Rader, Stacy Giomi,
Here.
Steve Kim.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask for any public comment. I don't see any, so we'll move on to item 5 for possible approval of the minutes for the April 10th, 2023 CTA board meeting. Any board member have any questions, changes to the minutes for the last meeting? If not, if I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Would any member of the public like any individual item pulled from the consent agenda for independent discussion? Hearing none. Any member of the board like any item pulled for individual discussion?
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 6 and 7 as presented.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. That moves us on to item 9, discussion and possible action or direction of staff regarding the proposed CTA fiscal year 2024 tentative budget. Chris, you're going to walk us through it?
So this is the 24 tentative budget that we submitted to taxation. I'll just run through it really quick. You guys will just have to holler at me if you have questions. So on page 2 of 14, this is a cover sheet. The tentative, we're expecting $3,142,447 in estimated expenditures. We could go to page 4 of 14. We didn't change anything on here as far as the employees. We've got 3 in general government and 4 in culture and rec. The next page, page 5 of 14. This sheet shows the estimated beginning fund balances for the general fund, the V&T capital, and the capital projects, and then our estimated revenue, which would include room tax, grants, interest, sponsorships, such like that. And then it shows the operating transfer from the V&T capital, which would go into our general fund.
Sure.
Is there what?
On the general, you're on page 5, correct? Schedule A1?
Yeah, Schedule A. It's page 4 of the taxation form. It's page 5 of 14 of the, got a lot of page numbers.
Oh, I see. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I was getting confused by. Got it, thank you.
Okay. So now on page 5 where Stacy just was. Now this one is showing expenditures for the general fund, the V&T capital, and capital projects. So the expenditures include salaries and wages, benefits, services and supplies. And then capital projects is just showing the transfer out to the general fund. And then the capital projects is showing the bond payment. This bond payment will be for the new bond that you guys just talked about in the last one that you're recommending to the city. We just estimated it in there.
Question. So what, so that bond payment is probably not going to be levied until, I don't know, maybe September, but more likely well after that, because they've got to come up with a plan.
Right,
So I mean, it may not even be till January.
right.
So are we going to just augment that
No, we're budgeting for the plan, and like the current bond payment we're paying right now, usually we pay an interest payment in December and pay the majority of the bond payment in June. So even if they bring
Oh.
it on in September, we'll probably pay interest and then probably have a big chunk.
But if they didn't
in
bring it on
June.
until after December, then we do an augmentation in December.
To take that expense out?
Yes.
Yes, we
And
could do
to
that.
put it somewhere. It has to go somewhere.
Yes, we could do that.
So, I mean, to unexpended or,
Right,
I think realistically, December is a possibility, but I think a struggle.
right.
Because it has to go by bond, it has to go to, the debt commission. The plan has to get done.
Mhm.
They have to pick, a vendor to do the plan.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's gonna take months.
Right, yeah. We got this number from Sherry in finance and
Okay.
we just put it in there, and if nothing else, it will just, the money will just sit in the account, because this account can only make bond payments, so it would just carry over to the next year.
So it can stay in the account. That's
Yes.
my question.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just stay there and wait. Right.
Okay, thank you.
So page 6, this one is, the first column 1 is the actual prior ending June 30th of 22. Then column 2 is the estimated for this year. Yes, sorry, I skipped over to, and then, on column 3 is the tentative for fiscal 24. Breaks down by room tax, governmental revenue, miscellaneous investment income, the transfer from the V&T capital. The miscellaneous revenue is for arts and culture sponsorships that, similar to the one that Deborah got for the Mark Twain Days. So we're just budgeting some money there. Next page, page 8 of 14. Hold on, I skipped a page. Page 8 of 14, page 7, Schedule B10. This is still for our general fund. This is expenditures. So the first part is general government, the salaries, benefits, and services implies. The general is admin. And then culture and rec is arts and culture, events and sales, marketing and PR, and the visitor center. And then the interlocal expenses, intergovernmental is the interlocal with the city. And this is breaking it down the same way. First column is fiscal 22, second column is fiscal 23, and third column is fiscal 24. I'll go to the next page. Doesn't go too fast. So this is page 9 of 14, page 8B11. This is expenditures by function. So it's got the general again, culture and rec, and then the intergovernmental expenditures. Then the next page, page 10 of 14, page 9. This one is just for the V&T Capital Projects Fund, shows the revenue and the expenditures. This one, the difference compared to this year is in the expenditures, kind of about 3/4 of the way down the page. We have 150,000 estimated. Right now, we've been doing $65,000 payments. Those will be done this year, and so next year, we're estimating a request from the V&T for repairs to and repairs and projects up at the V&T depot. So that's just an estimated number. They haven't made a request yet. The next page, page 11 of 14, page 10, this one's for Capital Projects Fund. This one is going to have that bond payment that we were just discussing, the 405 that we estimated in case that comes to fruition.
Chris, can you go back to 10? On the transfer out, or the expenditures, the 150,000, does that get transferred to, how is that not capital or potentially not capital?
That payment is made for things like if they're gonna pave a parking lot or things like that, they will come to
Capital.
this board and they will make a request to us for that payment.
And Stacy, if I can jump in, on the V&T's budget, we build in the intergovernment revenue or whatever it is for the 150, and then it sits under capital for us in the V&T
Okay, so it's
commission's
not
budget.
capital here, it's capital in
It's
your.
capital
budget.
on our end, yeah.
Okay.
Correct. That's how
Okay.
we built the budget.
Okay,
Yes.
that was the question.
So everything
Thanks.
matches up, yeah.
You ready for the next page? Okay. So now we're on page 12. This one is just showing the transfers from the V&T to the general fund. And page 13 is the schedule of existing contracts. We don't have any right now for fiscal 24. And the last page is schedule of privatization contracts. We don't have any of those either.
Board have any questions, concerns? Chris is ready. If not, I can get a motion.
I move to approve the CTA FY 2024 tentative budget as presented.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. With that, we'll move on to item 10, monthly non-action items for presentation and discussion only. David?
Thank you, Chair. For the record, David Peterson, Executive Director with Visit Carson City. Chris did a super job on the budget, so many thanks to her for putting this together with all the detail behind it, so great job. Just have three quick things for the meeting today. I did want to express my thanks to Greg and Lindsay with Parks, Rec, Open Space for representing us at the International Trails Summit, and Muscle Powered was awesome. They actually staffed our booth in Sparks, and there were 900 plus people that attended ITS, 49 countries, 5 continents. So it was wonderful to get Carson City in front of these folks so they could understand what we have going on from an outdoor recreation standpoint and our amazing trail system here in Carson City. So many thanks to all of those folks. Lydia finished off at the end of April our grant request to the Commission on Tourism, which is a one-time program now. So one grant request for the whole fiscal year. We applied for $69,222, multiple projects included within, and we'll see how things go on the 15th of June with the Commission on Tourism. We'll know if our grant request was approved in full or partial request, but good job, Lydia. Thank you for putting that together for us. And then I don't want to steal Lydia or Deborah's thunder about the inaugural Mark Twain Days Festival, which I think was absolutely spectacular. But I did want to read to you a special recognition that came by way of Senator Rosen, and I'll just read this out loud. It's a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Visit Carson City in recognition of the inaugural Mark Twain Days Festival. Thank you for your dedication to bringing visitors and residents together to celebrate Carson City's incredibly rich history. So I thought that was very nice from the senator, and Molly was great. She presented it to you guys, I think, at the bow tie ball. So very nice. I'll pass that down so the board can see that. And then this team, and I know Zach's not here, but Deborah, was the point of contact on this, and this was a huge lift, you guys. I just want the board to understand. Destination marketing organizations do not put on events like this team did, and Deborah was, over a year involved with this, and the team was on and off. Every one of these guys played multiple roles to help bring this event to life, and I want to thank Tiffany East and Linda Frederick as well. They were our event coordinators. We had amazing sponsors, vendors in the exhibit, and I think most importantly, our volunteers. You know, you did a great job, Deborah, of coordinating the many volunteers. But again, I want to credit this team for coming together. I know it wasn't easy. You know, a lot of stressful moments over the past 2-3 months leading up into the event. But I think it was a wonderful event. The feedback we've had has been absolutely amazing, to be honest with you. I think Deborah, in her presentation, you have one thing. I do want to read something from a visitor, but I want to read something from a student because I just found this to be quite funny. And this was a note to Mark Twain. It was written by a Mark Twain public school student for the Artisan Gallery exhibition When Life Gives You Clemens, the many tales of Twain, which our partners at the Bree Art Center hosted. And the student said, "You were a great author, also a very great part of history. Because of your greatness, you were named after my school." So I thought that was pretty cute, to be honest with you. And then we had another note from a visitor to Carson. I should mention, we ran into a lady from Serbia, who was here for this event. I mean, and the people from Mammoth, the Facebook app. Well, I won't. You talk about that anyway. We had people from all over. It was really cool. But this is just a great note, and this was in reference to what did this person like about the event, because we sent a survey out to all of our ticketed people, and as well as I think the folks at Nashville Social may have done something too. So the answer to the question was everything in terms of what they liked about the event. The Twain train and McAvoy Lane. I know he's retiring, but how can he? I finally got to see Piper's Opera House, and what a wonderful shindig that was. Keep that too. We love the fancy dress bow tie ball at the governor's mansion and the walk in Sam's shoes. Great leader, and the community really opened their hearts and even some of their homes to us. So grateful for the hospitality and community spirit everywhere. Great food and drink, cigars and mustaches. Keep Zach, the awesome photographer, shout out to Zach, and the rest of the crew and volunteers who made it all happen. Also, it was so creative to include Jumping Frog guests from Hannibal. And the Twain Bonanza episode. A shout out to the friendly locals, David Tracy, and the folks at the Prang House, Ryan's House, Smith Ranch, ? It says, and the church. Oh, and I love the museum installation of the historical Twain photos and quips, the kids' art, reception, etc. at the Bree Art Center. We had such a whirlwind time. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It was a class act, well done all around. Thanks for the cigar, that's used to, and the chocolate mustaches. So I thought that was a very nice note, and there's several of these that came back from people. So anyway, lovely event, great job to the team, and that's my report. Any questions?
No, I know everybody worked very hard. It was a great inaugural event. I think lots of great things happened, lots of great things to build on. Just a overall good first event, and it was because of you guys.
Thank you, Chair. All right, with that, we'll move on to 10B, transient occupancy tax actual versus forecast. In your packets, you have our current projection, which is just short of 28.2 million in taxable revenue. So that's the far column to the right. March, just under 0.16% under, we're projecting under last March of 2022. I did make a couple of revisions relative to last month. I've got April at plus 2.5%, and then May and June, I changed those to just be at 0%. So those are the updates for now, and we are working obviously on fiscal 24 too. There's been a little bit of a shift from some taxable to non-taxable revenue that Chris and I are working on as we finalize our revenue projection for the final budget for next fiscal year. But those were the updates that I made coming into this meeting. So again, we're tracking about 6.8% ahead of our final budget projection from last May, and just under 6%, 5.84% ahead of last fiscal year, 22. So that is the forecast as it stands right now. Are there any questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We will go ahead and move on to 10C, the events and sales update. Stu, take it away, please.
Stu Wexler, visit Carson City. So we are going to just run through the preview. We had a fam tour in from the UK and Ireland, and we'll talk about the Pay Dirt Super Celebration and a rugby update, and of course IPW coming up. So we had a fam tour in from the United Kingdom. A couple of them were from Scotland and Ireland, and they actually attended the Twain train and went up to Virginia City Pipers, and they had a fantastic time. Spent some time, Lydia spent some time with them as well, and they loved Virginia City. They actually loved McAvoy. They thought he was great, and so they were very impressed. They have never seen anything like this with the history, the trains itself, you know, the way it ran, and going up to Virginia City. And then I met them the next morning, took them to the hot springs. They've really never been to anything like that. And if you live over there, they are very light and calm. They weren't used to the type of sun that we have here. But they loved the hot springs. We spent a couple hours there, and they just really enjoyed it. Went from pool to pool, and it was a great time. And then we just went over to Sassafras. We ended the day there. You can see some pictures there that they have that one painting right in the middle. And they were fascinated by that, and they loved the food. They thought the meals were fantastic. And so, it was all around. They had a very, very good time, and followed up with them. They sent me a couple thank yous. The Brand USA tour operators, one's from the United Kingdom, one's from Washington, D.C., and they both had a great time. And they said all the guests had a great time as well. So it was, but they were very impressed with the train. They thought that was incredible. Yeah, it's too bad they didn't get to see the rest of Mark Twain days, but they had it. Their schedule was going up to Reno, Tahoe, then Carson Valley, so they were on a pretty tight schedule. And then we're just talking about the Pay Dirt race that's coming up. Hard to believe it's already here. It just seems like yesterday when we had it. So I did put 700 riders. There's close to 700 registered. We may not see 700 riders, just to let you know on that. They were trying to keep the registration open until as close as they can get to the actual race. Obviously, they want to get as many riders as they can. So it's pretty much going to be the same layout as what they had, and they're going to start at Fuji Park. Unfortunately, I won't be in town to see it, but David, Lydia, and I think Zach will be there taking pictures and taking videos. So, and then we are getting set. This is the Broncos Super Celebration I had mentioned before. They just had their celebration back in Tennessee. And I just wanted to show some pictures of the type of Broncos. You can see the one with the huge tires. And they do plan to bring something like that to Carson. They want to go on Prison Hill, take people, if they have the courage, to ride in those things. I'm told them I'm ready. I'm looking at that. That is great. And then a quick video of the amount of cars that attend these events. I don't even know if there's any sound, but. But yeah, just the number of vehicles that come to these events, and this is a huge following that the Ford Bronco has, and you'll see new Broncos, old Broncos like this. And as we mentioned, we are going to have about 400 Broncos at Mills Park. gotten the approval, and they're all set to go, and they're also approved to, take riders up to Prison Hill. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing, and then that they look forward to making this an annual event as well here in Carson City. And so we have a little update on the rugby we've talked about. David might help me on this one. So we had to do a few changes. We originally had the date as July 8th at the high school, which is still at the high school. And it was going to be international, but we all decided, looking at everything for the first event here in Carson City, we changed the date to the 15th, which was better for the league at that time. And we went from more of international to begin with to more leagues coming from the Bay Area, Las Vegas, which is a huge rugby area for games. The goal is still to have a World Cup here in the States, not necessarily here in Carson City. But we did get the approval for the school, the high school, for the change. So that is a go, and we're just going to continue with filling out the paperwork and what needs to be done. But they expect a lot of guests, and we changed it too. One reason too is it's right after July 4th. It's a big date for the hotels and such. So, and even July 5th, because you do have a little overflow from the tournament up at Tahoe. But I think, yeah, this is just going to be one day, and this is going to be 3 games, and it's going to be 3 men's games, and they're going to have a women's game as well, which should be interesting to see women playing rugby. But honestly, that one I don't know.
I don't know either, Stacy.
Yeah, they didn't.
Which one?
They didn't specify which team was going to be the women's, but I can find that out. So we're looking forward to that. I think that will be going forward, and they want to do, after they see how this game goes, like going on for 3 to 5 years, depending on what we think is going to be good for our area and what's going to be good for them as well.
And Stu, can I just jump in for a second?
Yep.
So we are at the high school. Obviously, there are no alcohol sales permitted, through the school district. And that has been, that has come up in the conversations. And so I think with the CA Rugby folks, maybe looking at the Pete Livermore complex down the road may be an option, especially if we go international, right? It's sort of like a must-have if we're going to bring Australia here or New Zealand or some combination of those type of teams. But I think just to see how this shakes out, I realize this looks pretty full, 4 games, but the high school can certainly house several thousand people in the stands. So,
the high school has more than enough.
Yeah,
With everything already set up, with the goals, the field, the turf, the bleachers. That was one reason. But one concern was, as David was mentioning, going in about the alcohol. With rugby and rugby players and the
Rugby
fans
and
that
beer
attend.
go together.
Right.
they do.
Right.
Synonymous with one another.
So, going forward, we probably will look at Livermore Field for future games.
Where are we getting the word out? How are we getting the word out?
So I'm working on the sponsorship agreement with Stu right now with the group. They do their own marketing. I'm not exactly sure what is expected of us at this point. We're just trying to kind of feel this whole relationship out. Presumably we might be doing some things in these markets, Bay Area, Sacramento, Vegas, because I think two of the teams are coming from we have Sacramento, Bay Area, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City, from those 4 markets. But they will come with their own marketing efforts. It's going to be different, Chair Jones, just because it's domestic, right? It's going to be a little bit of a different take than what we were previously discussing with the California rugby people when it was going to be the Australian team, right? Because then we would have been looping in Travel Nevada, leveraging their in-market reps. So it'll be a little bit different, but I don't honestly know exactly, what their expectation is of us at this time. So that's what we're going through right now with the negotiations.
And they're going to let their folks know that there's no alcohol? Because I can just
yes.
envision a lot of coolers showing up.
No, well, this will be at the high school. They are well aware of it. At first, we hesitated because of that situation, but because it was getting so late in the year and the high school was already set up with everything we needed. And they signed in their liability of insurance, it states on there, there's no alcohol to be brought on the grounds at the high school. So, well, they'll probably only able to watch what they can watch at
And
the
high
same
school
time.
has no provisions for allowing alcohol sales at all. I mean, they don't have,
Alcohol
Any-
or tobacco. I mean, and it states that in there, no alcohol or tobacco to be
no, I
on.
get that. What I'm asking is, did we talk to the superintendent or the president of the school board just to, do they have any provisions at all for
No,
allowing it? under
no,
any
I talked to
circumstances?
him when I first started this event and talking to him, that was the first thing they said, and they made
Because
it
I'll
very clear.
guarantee you,
And
this
there's no
isn't the first time
stipulation.
that alcohol has been on that campus. So I just, going back.
Something you want to
many,
tell
many
us,
ye-
Stacy?
Going back many, many years, many years.
And I gotta tell you, I'm sure my kids were in there too, so, when they went to the high school.
Alrighty.
The statute of limitations ran out, Stacy. You're okay. You're okay. You're covered. Right, Todd? Right, Todd?
Well, that might be Chris too, I don't know.
I'll have to look into that.
But the goal is to make it international, and not only international with Australia, but they want to get the American Samoan, which is very popular. Rugby is very popular. And I got to tell you, I've been watching it the last few nights on ESPN. I have no idea how they score, what it means. I just watch them run into each other and tackle each other. And it's a rough sport. Yeah. Yes, it is.
I mean, it's essentially an out-of-town tournament, basically. This,
Correct.
I mean, while we'd like to think that it's going to draw people and visitors, I don't think we can expect that. I mean, it may draw some people from Carson, but other than the teams and their families, we're not going to draw. I don't think we're going to draw spectators personally.
Well, that's why we went a little bit slower on the international game versus, what we have now. We wanted to make sure, and we want to see what's going to happen this first, event, and then we can go proceed from there if it's going to be something that is going to start to draw a lot of people into our area. Rugby is very popular. I really didn't realize how popular it is. And Salt Lake and Vegas are huge cities for this sport, so.
And I think, Stacy, just getting us on this rugby map, right, as a place that we can host the tournaments domestically, we're just kind of dipping our toe into it. And I agree with you. It's not like Australia where we were concerned about, 5,000 people was going to be a limiting factor at the high school, right? Yeah, this will be different. But I think with Tom, the gentleman that Stu's been working with on this, they do have kind of a following, so to speak, right, on a local level in those cities where these teams are from, and I think we're going to be able to bring some of those folks in. But you're right, it's kind of like a bigger sport event, I would say, at this point. Yeah, definitely not on the level of having Australia here or American Samoan teams here. So
Right.
No,
and that-
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's, I don't think we should have expectations that we're going to draw, the huge numbers that maybe an international event would have drawn.
I think Dave and I, after talking, we, slowed down our expectations, but they are still, the people I'm talking to out of California are very excited. They keep pumping up the expectations, although we think, we don't know. That's,
Is there,
we've
what's-
never had a big
is there
sport
an
like it.
admission,
What's that?
price of admission, or?
Uh,
To see, for us, for visitors.
I
Is there?
don't
They're
remember.
asking about ticketing.
I,
With the change now on the domestic side, if there's.
yeah, I
ticketing.
don't believe there is, but
It's just open?
yeah, it's just open. I think that's part of the school planning that they have there.
Okay.
It's
But I
kind of
just
like
think
parks where you can't charge a
it's
fee.
good that we try to get the word out in the community, even.
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, we
marketing.
will, I think we'll blanket, let's say within the kind of the,
Is someone
50
gonna try
miles.
and do concession sales? I mean, does high school get to do that, or?
They have that. The school is going to allow that. They, they have the concession
the school
stands
will
at
do
the
it
school.
themselves.
Right,
Okay.
right. So you're going to have
Steve had a
them.
great idea, bring a six-pack and get in for free. I mean, that might work. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I could
I-
just see, I see the board getting me in trouble. We'll never have it.
I think you're gonna get people bringing a six-pack no matter what.
Oh,
well,
So I'll go to the next page on that. And so I have the IPW coming up, International Powwow, the same weekend that everything else is going on. So I leave the 19th, I'll be going to the 25th. It's a 3-day show and setup. It's in San Antonio, Texas. I just wanted to show you this picture here of the Capitol. That's going to be our layout on the booth we have. I'm going to be right next to Travel Nevada. And then Reno's going to be on one side, and Tahoe is going to be on the other side as well. So I have 50 appointments scheduled, which is the maximum, but you obviously are allowed to talk to other people, and people come by your booth all the time. So that will be, it's a pretty fascinating, after the last one, pretty fascinating event. And I just put the main interest, that what I found from last year and what I've seen from the shows that I've gone to, these are the main interest in Carson City. One thing I will add is our location is prime. People love that we are close to Tahoe, Reno, the gateway cities, San Fran, Sac, even Salt Lake. So that is, so we'll see how that goes. But I think everyone's excited. And I've already talked to some people that I met last year as well. So, and that'll be it. So we'll see what happens there. And thank you. Any questions?
I have a question. So I have a friend who's a big Bronco enthusiast, and he's looking for more and more information. Where do they find it? I will send you the link.
It is the Super Celebration Bronco Magazine, what it's called. But I'll email you the link for that,
Okay, thank you.
where they can get more information.
Yeah, he's really excited about it. I mean,
So he has a Bronco, or?
he rebuilds them, has one, and is just really passionate about it. I was surprised that when I told him about it, he went crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you the information, and he'd be more than welcome to, participate. I'll even put him in contact with the event coordinator.
Awesome. Thank you.
thank you, Stu. Any other questions for Stu? IPW is going to be awesome. I think it'll be the biggest attended IPW ever, possibly, right? Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah,
this is a
last year,
Cool deal for us.
yeah, last year was the first one, the main one really coming in,
Post-COVID.
after COVID. This one with, and Lydia sent me they did away with all the vaccination requirements coming into the states. So we expect even more travelers this year than last year.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Stu. We'll go ahead and move on to 10D, Arts and Culture Update. Deborah, it's your time to shine.
Deborah Soul here. Well, I have really two things to talk to you about today. One is just a recap on the Mark Twain mural, which I did not have a lot of visual material for before, but I do have some now. And also, again, just to share with you a little bit about Mark Twain Days and how that evolved this year. So I have the yep. We have a short video that Zach put together. He filmed this while Jamie Vinsek, who's the artist for the Mark Twain mural, was busy
Hi, my name
helping
is
to hang
Jamie
and touch it
Vinsek.
up.
I am the artist who created the mural. So in the mural, we have the famous Mark Twain holding his frog, and in the background, we have the bookcase representing all the books that he has written. So when I was researching ideas on Mark Twain, I came across his first book, The Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. He was obsessed with frogs, and I liked how he always held a pipe in his hand, so that became the inspiration. Instead of holding the pipe, he now is holding the frog. This mural was made out of 6 panels. Each panel is 4 foot by 8 foot, so in total it's 12 foot by 16 foot. And I knew I wanted to do something colorful and whimsical and just fun for the town. So I just used basic acrylic paint and then paintbrushes, rollers, and then I sealed it with a mural sealer to protect it from the sun and wind, rain. This project has actually been a huge honor for me. Just to be in the state capitol and to be able to put my work on the Nevada State Museum is an honor, and I loved all the experience that it brings. And now I love Carson City, so I'll be back and check out my mural, so that'll be fun.
So Jamie was an amazing, gracious artist. She was a lovely person. She's done a lot of work in both Henderson and in Ely. This was her first mural here, but I think she's going to be back this fall for the Mural and Music Festival. She'll probably be participating in that as well. So yeah, her work is a great addition to our mural content. And I just wanted to share a few images and stories about the Mark Twain Festival. I'm hoping everybody here was able to attend that. It was, I would say in hindsight, an even bigger success than we were all hoping. As David had explained, a lot of effort went into this, a lot of nervousness for the days leading up to it, and it was particularly challenging when it's the first event and you have no idea how many people are going to show up, and you have no idea how successful each of the festival events themselves are going to be. And I'm happy to say that without exception, everything went completely smoothly, was well attended. There were so many smiling faces and people walking in costumes or dancing with their arms in the air. I was pretty overwhelmed myself just seeing the response that we had. This was a quick photo here of, we had the mustache event where we invited everyone who was watching or participating in the costume competition, including all of the audience, to grab a mustache and wear a mustache for this group photo. And there's a couple hundred people here at least, and there's even, I took a zoom in, a dog in the front row that was wearing a mustache. It was very cute. People were extremely enjoying themselves and were happy to wear a mustache. And some of the other events, well, the shot prior to this was actually just before the cast of characters, the runway costume competition. We had lots of people participating in that. And we learned from it too that there were some categories that were not as well attended. And there was one category, it was the vintage category from the era. There were 20 or 30 people in that category. We should have broken that down into 5 or 6, but you have to try it to know exactly what people are going to be inspired to participate in. And there were so many incredible costumes during that whole weekend. It was amazing. And there was a great Mark Twain lookalike. You can see him there in the one photo. We also had Tom and Becky from Hannibal, and they were at the cast of costumes event. They were all around the festival participating and enacting the engagement scene, which I'm hoping most people saw. It was incredibly cute. And those two, for their age, were such professionals. They were really quite amazing how how they carried themselves and joined into everything and really contributed to the festival. And the other photo that I've got here is just, it was from the picnic and the children's games activities, which was children's games from the mid 1800s. And that's just a photo of the kids doing the sack race. They had hoop and stick. They had a lot of other hand games, toss games that they used to play during that era. And it was amazing and fun to watch kids today playing these games because it was a lot more physical and I think more challenging than a lot of the kids were expecting. So it was good fun for everybody, and we had a large group of people join us for picnics spread out on blankets in the grass. And that event was wonderful and will be repeated for sure. There's a photo here, a quick one of, well, you know who, and you know who, on the Twain train. McAvoy did a great job. The train trip was amazing. There was, you probably heard if you weren't on the train, that there was some delays in getting to Virginia City, which was apparently grease on the tracks or something because it was their first time out. But to most of the people on the train, it was like, this is so authentic. This is exactly what a steam trip would be like, you know. So nobody was at all offended or taken aback by the fact that it took a few minutes longer to get to Virginia City and actually took them sending down a diesel engine to pull us the rest of the way up to actually get there. But the train was full. Everybody was having a great time. And the other photo that's in this slide is just a shot of the Chautauquan performance, The Living History, with McAvoy Lane and Kim Harris and Debbie Lynn Smith, which was held at the Nashville Social Club, completely sold out event, well received, well enjoyed. It was a great event to include in the festival, which will definitely be there again next year. I don't have a photo of the bow tie ball, but I'm sure some of you may have heard. I don't know who attended from here. It was great fun. We didn't expect people to be enjoying the dancing and the music as much as they did. People were literally dancing the whole night away with their arms in the air and dancing with McAvoy and saying, why didn't we do this sooner? So that event is definitely a doer again. So all in all, there are some takeaways, some small things we might change or improve or add next year, but every single event that we included in the festival was successful and well appreciated, and I'm happy to say I think a pretty big success. Oh, I have a couple more photos. This was just a shot of the costume pageant, the cast of characters. The one category was children's costumes, and this was the little boy, I guess Huck Finn, and winning his award. And this was, you can't even see all the contestants in the lineup for the vintage era costume category, where there was just so many people. We could have had many more categories there. But again, it was great fun. And this is just a letter. I know you can read it, but I'm going to read it out loud for those who can't see the slide. Just because I think it encapsulates what so many people thought and conveyed to us about the festival. So it says, hello, Carson City friends. I just wanted to let you know that I had so much fun this weekend. I actually thought I was going to do a ghost walk on Sunday and have some huckleberry ice cream, and that was it. First, I want to tell that due to a strong set of circumstances, things in the family, my quarantine has gone on much longer than that of most people. Last month was when we finally felt that we weren't endangering too many family members to leave the house, and I was sure that I would be able to bounce back into society and enjoy myself. When I saw there was so much happening, I knew I had to check it out on Saturday. So I packed up my toddler and convinced my husband to check out the vendors and get some ice cream, check out the goings-on as an observer until the toddler had had enough. I'm not going to lie, she missed her nap, but came through in the afternoon after some ice cream, which was more than I planned. Wandering the downtown made me realize that even though several places have closed, I guess since COVID, my favorite bookstore being one of them, there was still plenty more to do in the downtown to check out. Then Sunday came and went, and my cousin did the ghost walk and set foot in the Brewery Arts Center for the first time. So we had to check out the Nevada State Museum for the first time. It was always on my to-do list, but I had never had the time since the lockdown. I was reminded why I love this town. On top of that, it was Mark Twain days. What a wonderful excuse to get out of the house and be reminded why Carson City is worth settling in. I cannot wait for next year and hope to get to participate in so much more. I can't wait for my baby to enjoy it with me. I hope to get my friends and my family to visit from out of town so I can show off some of our history and activities in my city. Yeah, so that was kind of an example of the sorts of feedback we've been getting from people, which I'm very pleased about, very happy about. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any
No, it's
questions?
just, as I said earlier, just a great event, and thank you, Deborah. I know everybody put in a lot of time and effort.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, well done. I think it's a signature event for Carson City. I really do moving forward. So
Did you
go ahead,
pick
Stacy,
a
sorry.
date for next year?
After much deliberation and actually looking at the calendar at every single
Drum roll,
weekend
please.
for next year, I think we're going to change the date for two reasons, basically. One was we were very lucky with the weather.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have it a little later in the season because of that. And second of all, probably more important, is because there are so many sporting events taking place the last 2 weeks of April, and there really was a shortage of accommodation, we were in good shape this year because we didn't have that many out-of-town people. But we do anticipate this festival will grow, and we want to ensure that we have accommodation available. So we're looking at the the Mother's Day weekend, which is just coming up, next year. So that's 3 weeks later for the festival, moves it into a slightly warmer
May.
period.
Mm.
And the only thing that's happening on that weekend is Mother's Day. So that should work out fine. Mothers can come to the festival.
Yeah.
The festival activities usually wind down a little earlier on the Sunday, so they can still do Mother's Day dinner.
And you don't have to contend with Easter or worried about any of the religious holidays that are in there, and so.
Exactly. So it's
Easter
probably
next year
going
is
to be
early. It's in March, so,
Mother's Day weekend.
good, okay.
Any other questions for Deborah? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and move on to 10E, Marketing and Public Relations Update. Lydia, go for it.
Great. Thank you. We're just going to cover a couple of things today. I've got a little bit longer PR report to show you some of the articles that we've been featured in April, and then also just a Mark Twain Days recap from the marketing perspective to show kind of what it took to pull off the event. I don't think anyone could quantify how much Deborah did for this entire thing. So it's more from my side of the coin. No pun intended, I guess. But we'll start off with the PR report. So overall, a pretty decent month for April. We had some huge wins with Via Magazine, with multiple mentions from Mark Twain Day, Lay Day, and some other mentions from a few other publications I will go through. And you can see, obviously, our brand pull breakdown is pretty heavy in arts and culture this month, which is to be expected. Our biggest mention was, again, in Via Magazine. They have been incredibly kind and generous to us over the last, really, 2 years. I think this is our third mention in Via Magazine within the last, I think, 6 to 7 months. So this is a massive publication with millions of viewers online and a huge distribution also in print. So they featured Prison Hill in 12 spots to hike without the crowds. The travel blog featured us in 10 vacation spots that won't break in Nevada that won't break the bank. We also had lots of mentions in local news about the Mark Twain Days Festival. Colo featured the Lay Day celebration, which was the weekend after. And then a huge win as well was Matador Network, the world's largest independent travel publisher, mentioned the Nevada State Museum as one of 10 spots in Nevada that will blow your kids' minds. This site alone gets over 8 million unique visitors per month. So that was a big win for us as well that we were excited to share with the museum that we hope will continue as I know Travel Nevada works with Matador as well. So we were very excited to be featured in that. And then on to Mark Twain Days. So I wanted to shift to recapping the marketing and PR efforts for Mark Twain Days that internally happened from our office. to kind of show how we got the word out there. So overall, I'm really proud of our efforts as a team. It really took everybody to pull this off. So it was just a massive undertaking to create awareness for something that's never existed. So I think creating the event from scratch, but letting people know about it also was a feat to undertake too. So just a huge kudos to Deborah again for leading the charge on that and for everyone who helped. But let's start with the branding. So the logo, the branding, and marketing were all handled in-house, including the website build and all of the content on the website, including the forms and the management of the forms and everything behind that. We also built a small newspaper, which I hope you got to see, which I brought last meeting. That was the event program. We made a festival map, multiple posters, display ads, billboards, souvenir tickets, and street flags. And that was all with the help of our incredible graphic design partner, Kay Cox, who's out of Gardnerville. So we kept that local as well. And man, did she just kill it for us. She really was just a gift to this event and to our office over the last few years. She's really done some incredible work for us. So we're very grateful for her and everything that she's done. Zach was integral in creating all the radio and the TV ads with the help of McAvoy Lane as the voiceover. We did outsource the media buying for TV, radio, search, and display ads to Melissa Dietz, who was also the one who helped with the Great Western Steam Up. She did a wonderful job, and PR was handled also by Tiffany East, our events coordinator, and myself assisted with some of the interviews for that as well. So where do these efforts get us? We sold out 4 of the 7 ticketed events, and many of the other ticketed events and free events were full as well. So you can kind of see the number breakdown on the bottom there of just how many of the tickets we sold out and how many others were in attendance. These are just some of the examples of the assets that were created for this event. Social media and digital were also, so paid social and organic posting for social was also handled in-house, in addition to, as mentioned, the website creation and newsletter distribution as well. So a new MailChimp newsletter was designed, a strategy was built, and communications were managed in order to work in sync with our social ads that built a Mark Twain Day audience of 700 people strong from scratch. And I think that was a huge part of our ticket sales, especially for the Twain Train. The VIP list had exclusive access a couple days before to the public sales, and we sold out over half of the train with the VIPs alone. So that alone gave us some confidence that the event was hopefully going to be going well and ease some of the concerns a little bit. So that was a really strong effort, and now we have a great base to build on for next year. Our social ads reached over 390,000 people, delivered over 900,000 impressions, and over 14,000 unique landing page views to marktwaindays.com at only 39 cents per landing page view. So overall, our paid social went really well for spending not a lot of money with the budget that we had. So I was really pleased to see that success and how much interest there was in this event. The strategy and the ads focused on awareness, ticket sales, and hotel bookings in Sacramento, San Francisco, and the Reno DMAs, really focusing on our drive markets only. We didn't want to go too far because we knew this was going to be more of a local event to start, of course, but also we didn't want to spread our budget too thin in a bunch of different markets. We really stuck to our top markets for this one. And lastly, public relations, we had 25 total story placements. We reached nearly 380,000 people with PR efforts alone. The PR really focused locally, and our paid social and paid media efforts focused outside of Carson City, focusing on historians, event seekers, Twainiacs, and steampunk enthusiasts. So overall, we're proud of what we accomplished on. There's plenty to improve upon, of course, for a first-time event, but overall, I would say it was a success. If there's any questions, happy to go through them.
No, it's just that, like I said, it was, David, thank you. But no good deed goes unpunished. How are we going to beat it next year? Is there going to be a download of the committee and what we need to do differently, or maybe there's not?
We've
When do we
actually kind of done that already. So we met with the event coordinator, Tiffany East, to kind of get our thoughts and feedback while they were fresh. So we've got a good base list of things that we would want to improve on. Of course, and we're having another meeting on Wednesday night with all the volunteers to get their feedback. So, and the planning committee. So, we're kind of working on that already. So we're able
Oh,
to
good.
hand that off.
A great first event. Thanks,
So
everyone.
too. Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Lydia? With that, we'll move on to item F, future agenda items. Any requests from the board members for future agenda items? No? On the item G, upcoming meetings, fiscal year budget hearing is tentatively scheduled for Monday, May 22nd at 4 o'clock, and then the next CTA board meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, June 12th at 4 p.m. We'll move on to item 11, comments or announcements, requests for information.
Yeah, I just had a comment. The Board of Supervisors at our last meeting approved the plan for seeking artists for the roundabout project. And it was, it's been released and announced, I think today was when the announcement went out. So the RFQ, the plan, the general plan is to get, receive proposals, and then the top 4, I think it was, have to do a mandatory visit to Carson, view the site, submit plans, and then Cultural Commission will screen down to 1, and the board will approve or deny that one. We did allocate some additional funds, so the total project cost was $200,000, with $190,000 dedicated specifically to the artwork and the installation of the artwork, and $10,000 to bring those 4 candidates here as stipends to bring them into town, and for reimbursement for up to $3,000 each. I guess there's 3 then. Sorry, 3. 3,000 each for their efforts to do the design work and all that kind of stuff. So excited about seeing where that ends up later this year.
Exciting news. Any other comments? Bobby?
Yes, I wanted to let everybody know that we have started holding classes at the museum, and they've gone really well, so we'll be doing more of that this summer. We also installed a temporary exhibit at the Washoe Tribal Health Clinic at their invitation, and we're very excited about that opportunity to reach a new audience. We're hosting 3 legislative committees on Wednesday, May 10th from 5 to 7:30. They're going to set up in the museum's front yard, and this is their end of the session picnic. And this is the Ways and Means Committee, the Commerce Committee, and the Senate Finance Committee. This is all arranged through Assemblywoman Monroe Marino. And we're really excited to get the legislators out to see our museum because most of them, I would say almost all of them, have not been inside yet. So we're anxious to share it with them. And then finally, the Stewart Father's Day powwow is June 16th through the 18th. Thank you.
Any other comments? We'll move on to item 12. I'll ask for public comment one last time. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 13, to action to adjourn. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
We're adjourned.